Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob and I will be your host for this video. I'm a short story writer and every Friday we cover one chapter for one of those stories. However, on Mondays we find ways to keep our weeks creepy. Step into the newest part of the campfire universe. Join me as we delve deep into the dark corners of history, uncovering the haunted halls and spectral locations that still echo through time. From whispered folklore to real-life mysteries, these stories will grip your imagination and challenge what you believe. So gather close, keep the fire burning, and prepare to unearth stories that refuse to be buried. Welcome to Echoes of the Past. The horse you came in on, Saloon, which referred to by locals as well as me for the rest of this video for obvious reasons, is known as The Horse. The Horse is the oldest continually operating saloon in the United States. It opened its doors in 1775 in Baltimore, Maryland. It was the only bar that was functional during, before, and after Prohibition. A location this old has to have some sort of spirit still regulating their favorite saloon to this day, including a proclaimed spirit that you probably do recognize. The Horse has gone through renovations throughout the years, but the owners managed to maintain its theme, especially with the saddle-shaped seats. The bar at the front entrance of a colonial-era building is authentic to the 18th century saloon. The owners eventually expanded, replacing the horse stable area with brand new bars. 41 years ago, Howard Gerber began scouting sites for his dream bar. He fell for Thames Street on a warm, foggy night, smitten with the clapboard and cobblestone and salty air. Gerber chose a sturdy dormer-roofed building that had been the tavern for most of the 200 years. When he came along, it was Allen Ann's, a neighborhood joint that made more money selling cigarettes than drinks. But with the right location, Gerber needed the right name. He wanted something so unique, people walking by would say, "We have to go in there." The idea of playing off a saucy curse caught Gerber's fancy, and a little equine karma clinched it. When he got lucky enough at the horse racing track to afford the down payment, he figured that was all the sign that he needed. The horse you came in on, it was. The Horse was recognized as America's oldest continually operating saloon by Food Network in 2019, as well as one of the most haunted locations in Maryland. The Fells Point establishment is known today for lively music and atmosphere and high energy. They believe this is perhaps why floating orbs or spirit energy have been spotted at the bar. The reports from staff members include a desk on the 4th floor office space opening on its own. It's also clear that no one wants to be alone in the attic. Reportedly, the attic door opens a crack on its own, leaving the hair standing on the back of your neck. The bar itself has reported shattered glasses. One member even took a photo of a phenomenon. Mysterious orbs are seen in the bar area as well. Staff reports that the cash register drawers have a mind of its own, opening over and over, even when closed shut after each occurrence. Also, don't be surprised to see a reflection other than yours in the mirror at the bar either. It's also a common occurrence that the chandelier starts suddenly swinging back and forth and the lights turn off and on for no reason. Many of the staff members refuse to be alone in the building, let alone at night when the activity happens. However, nighttime isn't the only time that things take place. Bar manager Robert Napier tells a story of being alone in the bar one morning working. Looking down at what he was doing, someone walked by the other side of the railing. He looked up, calling out that the bar was not open and that they could not be there, but there was no one there to be seen. So now we want to look at some of the spirits I think could possibly be residing in the bar. One of the theories that I think does make a lot of sense is during the early years, the Horse was part of a wealthy neighborhood of Baltimore that grew tobacco, flour, and coffee in the 18th and 19th century. It has been well reported that slaves and others died on these trade routes. It is possible that some of the spirits still roam the streets in the area, possibly stopping in from time to time to get a drink. Again, I think this makes a lot of sense. This is a theory that I do think could be very true, but after doing a lot of research, there could be quite a lot of spirits around the area. But with this being one of the only buildings still standing from the 18th and 19th century in the area, who's to say that these people that died on these trade routes wouldn't just stop in to recollect an old memory of getting a drink from there. As always, I look up crimes that happen in the area, but the thing is, this is in Baltimore, Maryland, which, trying to find a crime in Baltimore is like going to the beach and trying to find sand. You'll find it, but there's also going to be a lot of it. Baltimore doesn't have the best reputation for being safe, and there's quite a bit of crime that's happened even just in the Fells Point area where the saloon is. Many murders and killings have happened just the past few months, like David Philpott, who was asked by a man later to be named Timothy Kleinsdent for money. When Philpott told him he didn't have any, he was beaten up by Kleinsdent, putting him in the hospital and later dying. This was just a few blocks away from the horse. This happened just in August. And then a 15-year-old boy who has been charged with murder in the area as well. Or there's Devontae Lassiter, a 31-year-old man who was charged with the murder of a 16-year-old just in July. With all these murders that have happened in just the Fells Point area in the last few months, it's possible to say that some of them might haunt the horse as well. That's also to say these are just the cases that happened this year. Think about what has happened over the past 200 plus years. There probably is a lot of residual energy from these spirits that have all passed away in the area, and who's to say who's stopping in, who's not. Finding such evidence of who exactly is in that bar may be a little bit harder than I originally anticipated. However, there is one name that I want to put my stamp of approval on. I always try to find one that may not be highly known or highly reported, but I think this one makes the most sense to me, and I think you guys would agree. The one spirit that I do believe is residing at the bar is the former owner, Howard Gerber. He bought the bar in 1972, and it was his dream to open the bar. It was formerly called Allen Ann's. Howard had envisioned something great. He took a leap of faith given there wasn't much of a need for a bar in that area, and it turned out to be an absolute success. Many patrons loved the bar and everything that Howard did to it, making it a fun location for everybody to just have a night out. You can actually read some of them on his memorial page. Howard passed away at the age of 75 in 2020, which would make him one of the newer spirits, but I certainly say if there's anyone who's going to keep a watchful eye over the horse, it would be Howard. Then there's the most famous spirit. How could we forget about him? The most famous spirit that occasionally resides at the horse is one of the greatest poets of all time, Edgar Allan Poe, who went to the horse prior to his death in 1849. This back then I believe was called Allen Ann's, but still the same location. Edgar Allan Poe was born in 1809 and was one of the most influential American writers and poets of his time. Poe is most famous for his short stories and poetry. Mystery and macabre was his specialty, the detective fiction genre, and his contribution to science fiction. Known as the first American writer to earn a living by his writings alone, Poe lived a financially tricky life by his career. Poe's father abandoned him, his mother, and his siblings when he was just a year old. His mother sadly passed away the following year, leaving Poe an orphan. Fostered and raised by the Allen family, he was never legally adopted. Alcohol and gambling became a demon for Poe at a young age. He eventually ended up in Baltimore in 1835. Poe married his 13-year-old cousin Virginia Clem when he was 26, and he lived with his aunt and grandmother Poe. Yeah, it was a different time, I guess, but never knew that about him, but, you know, we'll, I don't know if we should let it slide, but at the same time, different times, I guess. His life took him through several positions as a writer, an editor, the military, even to try for Congress. His alcohol and gambling debt, however, kept him from succeeding fully at all the ventures he took on. Poe's wife Virginia died of consumption, now known as tuberculosis, causing Poe's life to take a tailspin. Poe never recovered from his death from his wife. Some of his best-known works were inspired by his love and the loss of his beloved Virginia. Poe lived the rest of his life back in Richmond until his mysterious death in 1849, when he was only 40 years old. There is a great unsolved mystery that surrounds the death of Edgar Allan Poe. Although he was reportedly sober, Poe found himself back in Baltimore where he had lived with Virginia for a time, and where she was buried. Reports say that he was found wandering the streets feverishly and delirious after leaving the horse, which was a frequent watering hole for Poe. And oddly, Poe was dressed in somebody else's clothing. Then taken to the hospital, Poe died a few days later. Adding to the mystery, the intimate details of Poe's death and his death certificate are said to have been lost or destroyed. Many speculate he died from alcohol poisoning. Some also say that he had a drawn-out case of rabies. Other speculations for the cause of his death include heart disease, delirium, epilepsy, meningitis, syphilis, and even carbon monoxide poisoning. Furthermore, the more interesting theory circulated in 1872 was that Poe died of cooping, a form of electoral fraud. The practice of cooping was the kidnapping of citizens to force them to try to vote for a specific candidate. Those responsible would ply the victims with alcohol, hold them in a room, and threaten them with beating them until death, until they complied. The voting officials were then fooled by dressing the victim in another person's clothing so they could vote numerous times. In addition, they would frequently use disguises such as wigs, fake beards, or fake mustaches. There are many that believe this is how Edgar Allan Poe died, which would explain why he was seen in somebody else's clothing. As for today, many people claim to see Poe walking down the streets towards the horse at night. Why wouldn't he want to return to his favorite place to drown his sorrows, as well as be the last place he took his last drink? Because his death remains such a mystery, one can certainly understand his reason for hanging around in the afterlife. It is known that Poe's favorite drink was cognac, and for years a glass would be left out on the bar for him, and the staff would report empty sometimes throughout the night. Don't dare question the validity of Poe's haunting either. It is said that he will pull out your bar stool from underneath you. He is also known to throw a bar glass from the floor, perhaps because the saloon is no longer serving cognac. Poe is honored at the horse he came in on, with a picture hanging behind the bar where patrons toast to the famous poet. You will also see a sign that says Poe's last stop on the wall. Although it's not proven that Poe was at the bar that night of his death, it can't be discounted that it could likely be true. So that is it for today. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We post videos 3 days a week. Every Monday we do another edition of this series, Echoes of the Past. Every Wednesday we do a brand new episode of a true crime series that I call Far From Fiction. And every Friday, of course, we do the Friday Night Campfire Story, where we go over and experience one of the chapters from one of my short stories. Also, a quick announcement. My first collection of short stories is available right now in the top of the description. It's on Amazon. We have the e-reader version as well as a paperback edition. If you guys have any interest in that, please check it out if you want to help out a small creator slash short story writer. So yes, you can get that purchased right now on the top of the description. So that is it for today. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. And as always, thank you for spending a little bit of time here with me.